Hello, everybody, and welcome to the A Show. This is kind of like the penultimate episode to the final episode of it is of 2017. Like our last 2017 episode is next week.
That's penultimate, man.
Yeah,
that's it has the word ultimate, and then it has some like prefix that like makes it even better than ultimate. Like, I don't know.
I had to start off really like Webster's Dictionary this week.
I feel you. I feel you. Flex that journalism.
I'm a real journalist, like Michael Cole. I'm a real journalist, like Michael Cole, bro.
I'm literally a blogger. It's fun. It's fun.
We're here.
Yeah, we're back.
We're
back, man.
I mean, this is our first part of our year-end show. I'm really excited about this. We've got it, and then this week we'll be covering the biggest and worst stories of the year, and I guess mixing those two within each other, so we can talk about the best and worst of 2017. I think I'm really excited about that part. And I guess to start off the show, so we're not going to do No Holds Barred. We're not going to do a deep dive because the list is our deep dive this week. But
pretty much.
How did you feel about? Let's just touch on a couple of things that happened in the world of wrestling last weekend and up to this day. Clash of Champions happened on Sunday. I think a really unspectacular show. I didn't feel any way. It wasn't a bad show, but I don't think it was a good show either. What did you feel about the show?
Started well, didn't stick the landing at all.
Yeah,
it just failed to stick the landing. Like I think with both of the main events, we knew like some sort of trouble was coming, but I'll give it to the SmackDown roster, at least for the undercard, to make something out of nothing, because no one expected anything from any of the matches, and like 3 of them came out like halfway decent to good. So
yeah, not mad at the undercard, which would be the triple threat match for the U.S. title. The confusing 4-way for the tag match wasn't really that
so
bad.
Confusing.
The women's match, I would be cool if I never saw Charlotte and Natty wrestle ever again in my life.
I think that was a penultimate match. Like, what are we? I don't know, but
I hope so. I hope it was the ultimate
cool
match.
With the match.
The lumberjack thing, I just feel like this was I think, and I've said it like these past 3 days for there to be has been like, get it over with so we can get through the holidays type stuff.
But then they're going to rerun it during the holidays, because like the holidays is like either you tune in or you don't, and they have Raw and Christmas. So I feel like we're going to get like a best of the year for 2017.
Yeah, it's gonna be that's gonna be a weird show next week. But I think all in all, Clash of Champions, you could have skipped it. I ended up being right about Jinder Mahal. I think that's the only thing that I guess I can hang my hat on. He's not coming out of 2018 with that belt. We'll talk about Jinder in a second. But going into Raw, it was announced that Brock Lesnar as we predicted, is going to defend his title at Royal Rumble against Kane and Braun Strowman. Hooray. You excited about that?
No. How could anyone be excited about this? I would have been, I don't know any scenario where I would have been excited about this. I was thinking about Brock Lesnar Kane, and I was just like, not really. It's really just definite, toss out, and then Strowman versus Lesnar, but they don't want Strowman to look bad. But Strowman in the Rumble again. Strowman was good in the Rumble last year, I think.
I think they got bigger.
Was in the Rumble.
They've got bigger plans for him, so I'm cool with him being outside of it. And Kane, I really don't want him to be in the Rumble at all. Another big thing that came out of Raw, which is largely a nothing show. Dean Ambrose is injured. He did get a torn. He does have a torn tricep, I believe. He had surgery today. It's not known how long he'll be out, but knowing how long other people have been out, he's going to more than likely miss WrestleMania.
For torn tricep? Yeah, might be.
Yeah.
Tricep, yeah. Tricep's a big muscle. Tricep it's one of the biggest muscles in your arm, actually. It's what gives you the size in your arm. Me, who works out a lot. So there's a lot of movement with the tricep. So yeah, I could see if he's gonna miss WrestleMania, that kind of screws up the tentative plans of Rollins Ambrose at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and going deep,
which I didn't like anyway. To be honest, I thought it was kind of lazy.
Yeah, and going deeper into I just opened up the report. Apparently Dean tore about 50% of his tricep tendon away from the bone. So they had to go back down to the bone where it tore off, and they removed all of the extra bursal tissue and all the swollen stuff around his elbow. He had surgery today. A lot of people are prognosticating 6 to 8 months. I mean, this is the end of an era in a way for Dean because he hasn't been injured. Unbelievably, this whole time he's been on the main roster, he's been injury free. But I mean, the guy just got married. You know, give him some time off, let him get some rest, and have him come back next year after.
I don't know. He's gonna be so antsy because I don't know what he does. What does Dean Ambrose do when he's not wrestling?
He lives in the desert, so probably rides a lot of like ATVs and shit like that. He's probably not gonna be doing that.
I'm looking at tricep injuries in the past, and it seems like Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista tricep injury, so he was sidelined. I'm trying to see how long he was sidelined. I know he returned in October, but he was like pretty much like gone since before WrestleMania. So yeah, Ambrose is gonna be gone for a long time.
Yep. I think this might be a good thing for him. I mean, it sucks to be injured, obviously, but his character will get a chance to be restarted, so to speak. I think this has worked for a lot of people this year. Some of the people have gotten injured and come back, and I mean, even if it's like something small like an illness like Bray Wyatt, I think Bray Wyatt is kind of got a reset late this year, and it kind of is helping him right now because he's in a better program. I mean, the Shield reunion in itself has been snake bit since it started. I don't think that it's worked at all. So, I mean, this gives everyone a chance to kind of break off without anyone having to do a heel turn. So I think that works a lot.
I think it works out pretty damn well.
Yeah, and from Raw, we go to SmackDown, which, again, coming off of a pay-per-view, the only big things there are that Bryan and Shane are... I mean, we didn't really touch on the match. I thought the actual match was not that good either. The tag team match.
No, it was just kind of confusing. I get it, the drama of it all. The two referees, the one screwing. They're both corrupt in their own way, so no one comes out like pristine because they're both easily corrupted. One time you have the face Daniel Bryan siding with the heels, and then you have Shane McMahon who doesn't look any better with the faces, and then Nakamura is just there, and Randy Orton's just there, and it's just it was kind of all over the place. And on SmackDown, they didn't really resolve anything. They just kind of aired why they did things. I guess everybody needs an explanation, but I guess they're kind of holding it. I think I don't know if it's going to lead to something during WrestleMania season, but it seems like they're just, you know what, we're going to hold on to this. I'm going to put this little, nugget in there and say, watch them. They could turn on you eventually, and then we'll leave it at that. But
yeah.
It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in the show but I mean, I get it. I understand. I mean, you got to get it over with. You got to get it over with, man.
Let's get it over with. As long as, hopefully, we start transitioning Sammy and Kevin away from Shane.
Yeah, and I think that's happening as the heel turn happens. I really think that Kevin and Sammy are on the way to being faces. I think they're just going to be naturally turned just to offset Shane. I actually don't think that's going to end anytime soon if Shane does turn heel. But yeah, I just thought two really nothing shows. I do feel like there's going to be some storyline stuff next week. I just have this really itching feeling that's going to happen next week at these Christmas shows, that there's going to be some storyline stuff happening. So I will for sure be watching them next week.
Listen, John Cena, the guy who defended Team SmackDown, will be on Raw. So
yeah, I think he's going to definitely announce that he's going to be in the Rumble. I think that's a shoo-in. He's definitely going to be in the Rumble.
I hope so. That would be nice. I feel like he's going to face Elias. I feel like it. I just feel it in my bones. Like John for sure. Cena, Elias.
Easy win. He'll announce the Rumble entrance. And he'll go into the Rumble, and I think that's going to be starting his storyline to pass Ric Flair's streak, which honestly I think they should do. I mean I think I'd be cool with it. I would not be mad if they passed Ric Flair's his number of title reigns. I wouldn't be mad.
Me neither.
I think I'm cool with it. But yeah, that was this week in WWE, and let's go into our best and worst stories of 2017.
Talking about the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, speaking of the Royal Rumble this week, and I mean, this was a late entry, but it's fitting. The Women's Royal Rumble was announced for next month's event. They haven't announced if it's 30 women or not, which I think is kind of interesting and promising for as far as who could be in it. But as far as we know, all of the women from every part of the Raw and Smackdown roster will be in this match, except for the champions. Obviously, I think Charlotte kind of clued us in on the fact that her and Alexa won't be in the match. But I'm really excited for this. I think this is a great idea.
I think there's a lot of factors going into a women's Royal Rumble that they haven't figured out yet. Namely, women's matches don't go typically long. I think the longest they go is maybe 20 minutes. So having someone in a Royal Rumble, which could last even up to an hour, you're really depending on the stamina of the women that we have. That's really uncharted territory. I also think 30 is a super stretch, especially for time. So I think maybe we'll get like 20 max, and maybe it'll be like every minute or every 90 seconds. I don't even think 90 seconds, maybe a minute. Maybe it starts out with like 4 of them in the ring already. Who knows? Yeah. But I think it's going to be definitely different situations than men's. But I'm excited for it. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. The possibility of it. Yeah. Especially with them bringing up the NXT girls in such a large amount. And I think, it's surprises. I think that's what we can look forward to. And it's something cool for the women's division to have that sort of air around them.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the possibility of this. Like as you said, I'm looking at the roster right now. I think they're stretching at least 15, at least. So let's think of the stables that are already established. So you have Absolution and you have Riot Squad. That's 6, right? Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Mickie James. I'm gonna go crazy trying to even remember these girls. Asuka, obviously.
We're looking on Raw. Asuka, we have, just might as well just go to Wikipedia.
Yeah, let's do that.
Bayley, Dana Brooke, Paige. We talk about Paige, Nia Jax. We have on SmackDown. Excuse me, I live in an area where there's fire trucks and all this other stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Carmella, yeah. Lana, Naomi, who's the first person to enter. We have Tamina and Natalya. I can even see, but I can see a ton of surprises coming in. And surprises.
NXT is going to be all over this.
But who do you think from NXT?
Not Ember, obviously. I think Nikki Cross. I think the iconic duo would tear the house down. You got to remember, this is going to be a night after Takeover.
Right.
So
I think Nikki Cross is a good pick to be in. I think she's crazy enough. I think it offsets a lot of the other women. There's only one of them. I think she has a distinct sort of personality. I think it could be Nikki Cross. I think even Nikki Bella, if she says she's retired from wrestling, but I don't know how much she can still go, but it's not a lot of movement in female Royal Rumble.
Yeah, everyone's going to want to be in this. And I think even, I just said Ember, maybe not even, I think maybe they'll even put Ember in just so she can say she was in the first, Like, right. Everyone's going to want to be in this. I think Trish Stratus is a possibility if she wants to.
I think Trish Stratus, maybe even Lita.
Victoria.
Shit. All the people from the past. Who else still wrestles? Not a lot, actually.
Not a lot. Serena. You could go Mae Young Classic. You could do a lot.
We're gonna have not Eva Marie. Who's the other one? Divas champion.
Michelle McCool.
Michelle McCool. I could see Michelle McCool.
Yeah.
And who's that? Eve
Torres.
Torres.
Maria Menounos is definitely going to be on this shit for sure.
There's a lot of possibilities. I think it's fun, but does the surprise factor? I don't know. I don't think it'll take away. I was going to ask, does the surprise factor of the women's one will take away from the men's one?
No.
If the women's surprises are better than the men's.
No, I think it's going to be a long show, and I think the Philly crowd should be settled in for 4 hours because it's going to be a really, really cool and surprising show. Like I think it's going to be great.
A long show, and Philly are restless fans.
Super, super long show. I think the men's one is obviously going to be, the most anticipated. But I think that the show, to me, it's going to be structured kind of like a Elimination Chamber show. When they used to have 2 of them, and there were 2 30-minute ones, and they had matches in between. I think that's fine for the Rumble. I think that gives the Rumble
sandwich them. I like it.
Yeah, it gives the Rumble less fat.
How do you think they're going to have the big pyro? The big point to the WrestleMania with the pyro for the women.
It's the only thing that they pay for. So yes.
The big point to the WrestleMania, it explodes in the sky, some crap like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then they have to rejig it up again. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope it isn't well. Women in battle royal formats, it's kind of tricky. I'm assuming it won't be an over the top rope because I don't know, it's just women.
No, why wouldn't it be over the top rope?
All right, so I've noticed over, and I don't want to sound sexist. I've noticed over the last 2 decades that women have a very hard time going over that top rope. Check SmackDown this week.
Ladies, if you listen to the show, I did not say any of that. I said none of that.
They have a very hard time going over the top rope.
Jesus
I've noticed
Christ.
Battle Royals after Battle Royals. I'll recommend a Battle Royal later today, maybe. But it's a hard. They're usually through the ropes for that reason. Some of them aren't tall enough. Some of them aren't. Can't just get over there. You have to throw your entire body over it. So it's kind of a lot.
This was an amazing. Listen, all right, okay, sure.
I know, I just ruined the moment. I'm sorry.
That was so crazy.
Revolution.
Charlotte is gonna whoop your ass.
She is 100%. She's going over that top. She's not even in it. I don't know.
No, she's not. I think there'll be some shenanigans with her. Do you put Carmella in it?
Yes.
You have to, right?
Yeah. Past Money in the Bank winners have been in it. Money in the Bank holders have been in it.
Have no clue what they do with her. I would guess she cashed in at WrestleMania. No, yes, I don't think I care anymore.
Something, yeah, I don't really care.
But yeah, moving on to our next story. That was kind of the biggest story of the week to this point. So we'll just rapid fire through, and whatever's a big story, we'll spend some time on.
Sure.
The next story is the evolution of NXT, and this year for 2017 was actually a very big transition year, and I think the last time NXT had a transition year like this was when Finn left in late 2016, where NXT kind of floundered for about 8 months with Nakamura and Bobby Roode at the top, and I think the TV really suffered. But with the exit of Nakamura and then Roode afterwards, NXT, and I want to say the past 5 months, has turned into, again, the best, probably one of the best wrestling shows, if not the best wrestling show on TV.
I think one of the reasons why is I feel especially in the beginning of NXT, or at least from the arrival on, it seemed like a lot of the homegrown stars were getting the development that they get, that make fans sort of connect, whereas probably for the last few months it just seems like a revolving door. Yeah. You kind of see Joe come in and it's Joe leaves, and then you kind of see Nakamura come in and then it's time for Nakamura to go, and Bobby Roode come in and now it's time for Bobby Roode to go. But they've been really kind of taking their time. They're not throwing anybody up to the main roster too quickly. I mean, we saw that with Asuka. So they're taking their time. Everybody's getting a little bit of development. They're feeling out everybody. And we're getting a bunch of new tag teams, everything. So it seems like they're more developing now, redeveloping, rebuilding as a brand.
And I think what I love the most about current NXT is that, other than the women, and I think we'll get to that in a second, on that are on that roster, that I think that there are a lot of people here that I think that they see as top people for the foreseeable future and that won't be going anywhere for the foreseeable future. And you've got guys like Roderick Strong, and you've got Adam Cole, and you've got, obviously the whole Undisputed Era. You have Andrade Cien Almas. You have a lot of the Mae Young Classic women that are coming up, who you can see they will be touring these loops that Nakamura and Finn and all of those guys toured for like a year and a half. And I don't think that any of these guys are going to go up for like the foreseeable future. But I also don't think that's a bad thing, because NXT is now, as much as, I hate to say it, it's not developmental. It is its own beast, and it's its own show. And I think that you have to have a star and a top guy, and you have to have a face of it. And I see guys like Adam Cole and Roderick and Andrade and Aleister Black. We didn't even say his name. Like, there's just the amount of talent.
Gargano, Ciampa.
When he comes back, yeah. Like, and if you want to keep it 100, and I'm kind of like revealing a lot, but our some of the best matches and some of the best shows in the WWE period this year came from NXT.
100%. 100%.
And then it's just been able to be this really cool melting pot of everything that is cool about the WWE. And I think that even if people find that the main roster is not cool and they don't like the writing, they are more in tune with the kind of world of sport and strong style version of NXT, where it's like I get my indie guys here, and I don't have to watch anything else for the rest of the week, and I have a takeover every other month, and it works that way for me.
Great. It's NXT has been great. I'm interested in rebuilding. I see they have a lot of talented a lot of people who's been in developmental for a very, very long time. But we saw the Joes and the Rudes and the Nakamura's come in. There's been a lot of people who've been training as a developmental brand as it was people who were training to come up to be on television. And now I think we're starting to see those people slowly flow in. And now I think we can become accustomed, we can grow with these talent again. Yeah. I think it's going to be similar to what we had 2014, 2015 now.
And on the women's side, this is a chance for Ember Moon to rebuild herself. I think the women's side of NXT and developmental in general is very top heavy right now. And that's why I wasn't too upset about Liv and Sarah and Ruby and Mandy and Sonya all leaving, because they had no place on that show. And you could argue Ruby did, but I think they needed to put Ruby with Sarah and Liv because she's a ring general and she already knows what she's doing. But I think, as a whole, you still have Nikki Cross, you still have Kairi Sane. Jesus Christ, you've got Shayna Baszler, you've got Bianca Belair, you've got Missy Martinez who just signed. You have a lot of people there that are ready to go, and I think they have a lot to do with the women, and they have a lot of stuff that they need to grow and not make that Asuka mistake. Asuka honestly killed that division for a whole 2 years. She beat everybody. And we're going to get to Asuka in a second too. But I think that the women are given a chance to breathe, and they let that title get passed around. Like, I haven't seen anyone with that title for 2 years other than Asuka. And then Bayley. So it's like, it's weird.
Yeah, it's time to give it a pulse again. Yeah. A little bit of a pulse. Even if it's like switching it, it's time to give it a pulse. Time to establish new people. It's time to make sure that everyone knows that it could be anyone. Everyone's in contention. Yes. Everyone is a possible women's champion. Not everyone, but you have a solid group that's like of women, similar to the 4 Horsewomen era of the NXT, where it's like it could be anybody. Everyone's extremely talented, and it's not just Asuka who is supreme talented.
Yeah, and
no offense to Asuka.
No, of course not. It's really just a testament to how good Triple H is and mining this talent, and I think you have to have these guys there, or else obviously NXT gets stagnant. But you have to be ready for the new guys that are coming in. There are a lot of rumored names next year. We're not going to get into that, but I think NXT just going in is very strong. And just to kind of go into all of the main roster debuts from NXT, I think this might be the largest main roster graduation that they've ever done. Let's go through the names. We've got it looks like after every main show they debuted somebody new, or at least thrown somebody new on the roster. Yeah, Samoa Joe. Asuka, Bobby Roode, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, The Revival, Elias Sampson, Hideo Itami, all moved up this year. Nakamura did too. Right?
Nakamura? Oh, yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, Nakamura.
How could I forget?
Nakamura.
It's a great class. Listen, and they're doing fine on the main roster. I'm not saying no one was like an instant star, like Finn, for instance, which came out the gate Universal Champion. But they're finding their place. They're finding their footing. I think it's still like a merge of an era. It's still merging a couple eras together, where you have the era of the Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose, and now we have this sort of new era of Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and everyone's just trying to find their footing and where they belong.
Yeah, I just love NXT, and I think that's not gonna stop.
Which debut, which person do you think have had the biggest impact?
Samoa Joe. And Asuka as a distant second. I mean, if you go down this list, I mean, Bobby Roode, he's kind of lost. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, they're doing fine. Ruby Riott's doing fine. Sarah Logan's doing fine. Liv Morgan's doing fine. The Revival have been injured for half of the year. Elias is fine. He's kind of just, now getting his footing. Hideo Itami just debuted this week. I can't really call it. He was off NXT's TV for like 6 months, or 3 or 4 months. Shinsuke is the more interesting. I think we got to give him at least 6 more months, in my opinion, before I can call it.
I think he's not a main priority. Like I've said before, there are priorities in the WWE, and I don't think he's a main one. Everyone's sort of clamoring for the Styles versus Nakamura match at WrestleMania. It's a possibility that could happen, but I think it's also an equally, possibly 50-50 possibility it could not happen.
Right.
But we'll see how it goes from there. Like you said, we can wait out the next 6 months, see how they use him at the biggest show of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you're right. He could be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, in April. But I think that when he came up, they needed a body. They needed a debut, and they needed a star on SmackDown to work the loops that Randy and John wouldn't work all the time. And I think they found that in Nakamura. He's at all the house shows. They needed him for the Japan tour too, and they've got him for the Japan tour. So I think that's why they needed him at that moment. And I think going into 2018, that's why I'm saying to wait. But I think as far as the two people I felt had the biggest impact, I mean, Samoa Joe, his first night in, injured Seth Rollins. And
off the bat, I think we can talk about that from the WrestleMania. But yeah, it's crazy.
And then he's like, Samoa Joe has lost 3 times on the main roster. He's lost to Seth maybe twice. He's lost to Brock Lesnar, of course, and he's lost to Roman, I think, and that's it.
Listen, he's had a strong impact.
He's never, and I said this last week, he's never booked to be weak. He's never booked to be stupid. He's always booked to be exactly what he says he is, and that's someone who can whip your ass. And I think that's effective, and I think that's why people, as for him being such a heel, he has so much support every single week. And it wasn't just the LA show that was like something that was happening. It's been since the LA show that he's been getting a groundswell of support every single week on Raw.
100%, man. We talk about the debuts and Hideo Itami. Can we shift into the cruiserweight division?
Yeah. Speaking of divisions and shows that have their footing, let's go to one that has no footing whatsoever.
100%. Oh my God. 205 Live. Was 205 Live something that came this year or late last year?
It came late last year. It was late last year.
It was started November 29th, late last year. Still struggling to find its footing. I mean, it's an hour that's taped after SmackDown, so people kind of tend to be burned out after SmackDown.
For now, it's an hour.
For now, and people tend to be sort of a little, burnt after SmackDown, and then you have these cruiserweights go out there, and they haven't established too many They tried the original roster from the Cruiserweight Classic, and they want to see how it works, and I don't know if it didn't work, so they started bringing them the big names. And one of the first big names of the year was Neville. Yeah. Neville immediately became the Cruiserweight champion upon his arrival, defeating Rich Swann, and it became the Neville level for the next 8 months.
Yeah. He lost it once he lost it one time, in the middle of his reign. Yeah, to Tozawa.
He lost it once to Tozawa. He killed it. The matches are amazing. I think he brought eyes to the division, but I don't think it was the eyes that we see when they decide, hey, you know what, we're going to bring in another major name, and that was Enzo Amore. Enzo being brought in after he was split from his partner Cass, and they really had nothing for him to do since Cass got injured. And they said, hey, people originally looked at it as a punishment. They were like, hey, we're going to move him to 205 Live so he doesn't annoy us on the main roster. But he's taken the opportunity and he sort of ran with it. And there are more eyes on 205 Live now, and way more controversy between who deserves to be there. It's a natural heel. People who don't believe he should be in the spot he's in, but he's there. Mm-hmm. So it's working with Enzo Amore, and they tried with Kalisto, which was a dud, unfortunately. And I actually like Kalisto, but my God, I think he took the opportunity, and unfortunately, it fumbled. Just fumbled it to no fault of his own. And now we see Hideo Itami coming in, but still, it hasn't really gotten its footing yet. It hasn't become a must-see show. It doesn't have superstars that are, in demand. They have these tag matches on Raw, which people aren't fully interested in. What do we do with 205 Live moving into 2018?
I don't think that having Hideo and potentially Rockstar Spud from TNA, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think Enzo's a bad thing. I think Enzo's been, from what I see and the segments I catch, he's always a highlight of the show. You realize he hasn't wrestled in like weeks,
right?
But he's always
he's helped close Raw for a couple weeks during the summer.
Yeah, and that was Vince. I think that was Vince saying, "Hey, we need to try and get some eyes on it," and I think it worked, at least for the weeks that they tried it. But obviously the ratings on Raw tanked whenever he was on screen by himself.
Listen, a good 2-hour Raw is everything I need, man.
But I think moving in, I pack the show out, pack the fucking show out with stars, pack this show out with stars that people are gonna wait to go see or wait to see. I don't understand why they wouldn't do, why aren't they
the house shows now, and they have Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy on it, so it's kind of like,
why wouldn't they intermingle with the other superstars on Raw? Like, we're starting to see it now, and I think you're seeing glimmers of things that they're trying to do, like putting a Nia Jax on the show, putting a Neville on the show, and I think Neville coming back will exponentially raise the amount of people that will watch that show if they can get Neville to come back. And I think they know it.
I think so as well.
I think they know it.
This sort of buzz.
But you want to have them intermingle. The few times they've done it, like when Neville comes out, when Braun Strowman was walking out, and Braun kind of looks at Neville like, "What's up?" You know what I'm saying? Like, moments like that are cool. And we didn't have enough of that. It felt like the cruiserweights, like, you gave them their own ropes. You gave them shit like that was unnecessary. You have to make them feel special, but you also have to make them feel as though they are important, but also integrated within the actual universe. They felt like they're not even a part of the WWE.
They're superstars too, in a sense. They're not just cruiserweights that are just like, these 205 pound. They are also WWE superstars as well.
Yeah, they never felt like stars to me. They haven't felt like stars to me all year.
Side show a little bit.
Yeah, and they main event. That's what they do, and I think that they have a bigger uphill battle than NXT losing a Shinsuke Nakamura. They have characters there that have been so damaged and made to look stupid. Fucking Rich Swann, I think, was dressed up as a clown earlier this year, like for Halloween or something like that. Like, they've had these weird fucking episodes where it's just like, why would I ever take this show seriously?
I think moving in 2018, I don't know, we add some sort of structure to the actual show itself. I don't want to make 205 Live seem like its own brand, but something of maybe even an authority figure, a commissioner.
I think that's what Spud's gonna do.
The commissioner of Raw doesn't even show up on 205 Live because he doesn't work Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So we have some sort of authority figure. I think for the house shows, it would be great if they managed to, even if it's a one-time only, you managed to bring over some talent you had in the Cruiserweight Classic. Yeah. I think that would be amazing too.
Do you think that's coming back this year? I think one tournament's coming back this year.
I would like to see the Cruiserweight Classic come back because there's so many other Cruiserweights, and then you have a lot of free agents now. Yeah, listen, Ricochet became a free agent this year.
But here's my thing. Seeing what they do to 205 Live, who would sign is my question.
That's what I'm saying. But, I mean, it's the WWE nonetheless.
True.
It's still the WWE umbrella. I mean, you would hope you pack on a few extra pounds to be 215 or something, but it's still under the WWE umbrella. Like, you want to use that opportunity and make the most of it, but I completely understand. I don't know if I'd be into it. But, 205 Live, we're moving in 2018, and I don't say I'm interested to see what they do, but I'm open for them to really wow and surprise me.
Put the belt on Cedric. Let him run with Hideo. Let him have a title shit. I
don't think Cedric's the answer. As much as I do like Cedric, I don't think Cedric's the answer. I think to me, if I was booking it, I'd probably keep it on Enzo for a while and hope Neville comes back, because I think you really have a strong blood feud there, and I would build up the lower. I don't know, but no one cares about the undercard. Like Brian Kendrick and the British dude has been on the undercard for months, and I don't give a damn. And I forgot his name too. That's
Jack Gallagher.
Jack Gallagher. I forgot his name too. That's the worst part about it. Is it hard to add an authority? I don't know. It's just I'm open to them wowing me in 2018. I want to be invested in 205 Live. I don't know if I have the time, but I think, it's on the network on demand. I can watch it anytime.
This is the longest we've ever talked about 205 Live on this show. I think this is the last time we'll talk about it this long. I'll say that.
100%.
Kurt Angle returned this year to the WWE after almost a decade, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame this year in a really great moment. He had a really dope speech. How did you feel about, before we get to the next part, how did you feel about him, getting inducted to the Hall of Fame and, everything that happened leading up to that?
Well, Kurt Angle is one of my favorite wrestlers, just period. I think after The Rock left, he became my favorite wrestler, and then once he left, Edge did. So I'm all for Kurt Angle and everything Kurt Angle. I think he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, but I think we all really just wanted the match. Like, before even the Hall of Fame, you wanted to know, will he get back in the ring?
Yeah.
He's definitely a Hall of Famer, but we wanted to see Kurt Angle in a completely new landscape of the WWE and see what he would bring to the table on the biggest stage of them all.
Yeah, and I obviously love the idea. I think he's one of the strongest. I think a couple of ideas that people have had for Hall of Fame candidates in the next 3 years are really strong candidates. I mean, you've still got The Undertaker possibly. You've still got, a couple other guys that could go in, but I think Goldberg, obviously, and we'll get to Goldberg in just a second. But after he was inducted, it was announced that he was going to stay around for a while, at least the near future, as the Raw GM. How do you think about his tenure as the Raw GM, who was always on his telephone? And just let's go down a list of what he's done as the GM this year. He's had a illegitimate son revealed.
That was something.
Oh, so some 2002 shit. He has been demeaned and emasculated by Stephanie McMahon.
100%.
And
people have almost died on his watch multiple times.
Yeah,
like Braun Strowman,
Roman Reigns has almost died. He basically fucked over the cruiserweight division by giving Enzo a clause where no one in the cruiserweight division could actually defend the belt. Thanks, Kurt. That was great.
Yeah,
great idea. And more exciting than that, he went back to the ring. He got back in the ring this year. We did get that match, and we got it twice within 3 weeks. Kurt Angle became a member of the Shield for one night only at TLC against the Miz, Kane, Sheamus and Cesaro, and Braun Strowman. Insane. He was heavily protected in that match, though.
Yes. He had a great moment where he came back after and just started angle slamming and suplexing people, and it was a great moment for Kurt Angle. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great fucking moment. And then 3 weeks later, we got it again at Survivor Series, where he did a lot. He did a little bit more on Survivor Series, I think.
He eliminated John Cena in the Survivor Series match for some apparent reason, but whatever. John Cena's not there. And then I think we started the seeds of a Triple H, Kurt Angle program that could possibly be leading into WrestleMania.
Triple H Braun, Triple H fucking Jason Jordan, Triple H Shane McMahon. Triple H has 8 feuds coming out of Survivor Series. One of my least favorite shows of the year. But I think more power to Kurt Angle. I think give him one more match. I think give him something at Mania, with someone that he can sink his teeth into. I wouldn't mind seeing that. It doesn't seem like he lost a step to me, but I don't think he's at full. He's not at full capacity
yet. But it seems like he's still moving at maybe like a quarter speed of like maybe a little bit more of what he used to be. But he can still go.
He shouldn't be doing the moonsault anymore, I think.
But he will. He's a maniac. He's a maniac. He's 100% a maniac. Like, he will.
Yeah. I'm really cool with it. Kurt Angle return. Speaking of wrestling,
I think he's a better GM than McFoley. So for all intents and purposes,
I think his facials on screen are always great.
Yeah,
period.
100%.
But speaking of WrestleMania, speaking of Hall of Fame, let's go to the main event of WrestleMania from this year, which was The Undertaker and Roman Reigns, a match that I think there was a lot of intrigue because we wanted to see. I don't think there was a doubt in my mind Undertaker would have lost that match, but I think I was just trying to see how he was going to lose it. And I think the match that we got, I don't think any of us could have ever imagined what we saw at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I thought he would move a little bit better. To be honest with you, I don't know if he was in full. I mean, I don't know if was he coming back from injury. It seemed like
he's always coming back from injury, Meelz.
Well, that's true. He's very old. He's an old bag of bones.
I mean, it was a bad match. I mean, the Undertaker was. If you say Angle was moving at a half speed or quarter speed, Undertaker was moving at maybe less than that.
I think his strength wasn't there. I'd say a lot of his strength, a lot of things that he does require power. A lot of things he does require speed. I think he still has a little bit of a speed. I think he's faster. He's still faster than a couple superstars in the ring, unfortunately.
Ooh, he's not faster than Braun.
No, he's not faster than Braun. He's faster than like Big Cass. Like Big Cass moves slow. I'm like Undertaker still moves faster than you. Like,
Big Cass is 7 feet tall and nothing else.
You can't teach that. But it was a bad match. I actually have not watched it since WrestleMania.
Oh, try watching it again. I think that the crowd turned on it, rightfully so. Lord help Roman, because I know a lot of people give Roman shit for that, but it's like, how much could you carry that? I think if you put AJ in that ring, the same thing would have happened there too.
Do you think it should have been the main event of WrestleMania though?
If only for the angle, which we're gonna get to, then yes. But if Undertaker was gonna win, then no.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, I guess they alluded to the fact that Undertaker retired afterward. There was a very long 15-minute section before the show ends.
That's a long match, my friend.
Where
he needs a Red Bull and like.
The match ended. The match was 10 minutes, 15 minutes long, and then you had another 15 minutes of the Undertaker laying in the ring.
It felt like an eternity. No way that could have been 15 minutes long.
Well, what was this WrestleMania? 33? 34?
33. I'm looking it up now. The match was 23 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 15. Yeah,
23 minutes. It felt like an eternity. It actually felt longer than 23 minutes. But maybe that's because of entrances and 15 minutes of adjusting.
That's from bell to bell. That's from bell to bell. That's from bell to bell. That's 23. But, I mean, 15 minutes after that, I mean, he's laying in the ring. He's getting up. He's sitting up. He takes his boots. He takes his gloves off. He starts walking out. And then
I felt like the end of Mr. Rogers. years. Yeah. Oh my God.
And he walks up the ramp. Like, I think the music had stopped. Like, his music had literally stopped. He was laying on the mat for a really long time. He puts his hat down or something like that, and he walks away.
Leaves his hat, leaves his gloves, leaves his walker, he's just out there. He's like, yo, just throw me back.
And then
hook me up.
And then I guess Vince feeds Michael Cole to say this is possibly the last time we'll ever see the Undertaker. And it's like, you guys say that like every single year. I mean, you guys said it when John Cena left his wristbands in the fucking ring last year. I mean, it happens a lot.
Right.
Do you think the Undertaker's done? I don't think the Undertaker's done. I don't think he's done. I think he's done when they put him in the Hall of Fame, and I think they make that Hall of Fame the biggest one ever.
Do I think he's done? Do I think he has another WrestleMania? Do I think he has another WrestleMania in him? No, but will that stop him from going to WrestleMania again? Hell no. But he's pretty old. Like, I don't know. Last I heard, he was invested in real estate and all these other things. I mean, he's 52. You've definitely seen people wrestle past 52. For instance, Vince McMahon. Yeah. But he has not wrestled every day for like the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's up in the air. I don't think this is the last we've seen of him. He'll be at Raw 25.
Oh, for sure.
So we'll see what goes on.
You better hope you're in the right. You better hope you're in the right arena.
I know, right? That's so confusing. He could show up at the Manhattan Center because he was part of the first Raw, so he could be there. And it's like a shitty Manhattan Center entrance or something, like a Family Dollar version of his entrance or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I think he's going to be in Barclays. You're going to be fucked.
I'm going to Barclays. Fuck that. It's closer.
But we go from really great match to a match that I felt like really should have been the main event. A match that's literally, I'm like, no lie, one of my top 10 matches of the year. Goldberg and Brock Lesnar's match from WrestleMania, completely blowing away their 2004 match and being, to me, the best Goldberg match he's ever had. I really love this match.
I think they decided, let's see how much Goldberg can actually go, and maybe that's the reason for the placement of the match, because this was the money match. To me, this was the attraction. This was the main event. This was what everybody probably been waiting. What was it, like? WrestleMania ended like 11:45, 12 o'clock. Like, yeah. Shit gets longer and longer every fucking year. But like, this was the match everyone wanted to see, and Goldberg, albeit he had a very short run this year, had a very prominent run. He was in the Royal Rumble. He wrestled for 3 straight pay-per-views. The Royal Rumble, he was there. He eliminated Brock Lesnar. I believe it was Fastlane.
Yeah.
Fastlane, he won the Universal Championship from Kevin Owens in just a short amount of time, and then we finally got the challenge between Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, and it did live up to everybody's expectations.
And just to go back on it, I love the story, and I think the story to me between Brock was the biggest thing about it was that he beat the dog shit out of Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, and that caused Brock to go away. He went away. He was like, holy shit, I just got beat. And no one ever thought that he would beat Brock. He beat Brock in like a minute, right? Like 1 minute.
It was, at Survivor Series or WrestleMania?
Survivor Series.
Survivor Series, yeah, it was a minute and a half, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the most talked about moment from that Survivor Series. And then it's like, the story was that Brock is trying to redeem himself, and Brock isn't going to fall for the same thing. He was trying to beat the spear, and he was trying to beat the jackhammer, and then they both beat each other's finishers. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was chaotic. It was a great match between it was the match we should have gotten over a decade ago, and they finally fulfilled on that promise. And I think that was, for a show like WrestleMania, this year's show, there wasn't a lot of bright spots to it, but I think that was the bright spot other than like the AJ Shane match to me.
Well, you know what? Can we revisit WrestleMania 33 for a second?
Yeah.
It was one of the biggest, shows of the year.
They went back home to Orlando. Sure, let's do it.
They went back home to Orlando. We saw Mojo Rawley win the Andre the Giant Memorial, trophy, and we see how that played out over the next 6 months.
It almost took a year for him to even capitalize on that.
He was like, "Oh yeah, didn't you know I won a trophy?" And now I'm thinking a feud behind it. We had the AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon, the kind of hot feud in a match that AJ Styles brought out the best of Shane McMahon, one of the best matches on the card.
4 stars. 4 stars.
We had the culmination of Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Well, not the culmination, but it was the.
Oh boy, that was just the beginning.
It was a major rivalry, and the reveal at the Friendship Festival.
The Festival of Friendship, brother. Come on.
The Festival of Friendship. One of the best moments on Raw all year. One of the best reveals is a slow burn. It went well. We had a fatal 4-way match, kind of forgettable, between Bayley, Charlotte, Nia Jax, and Sasha.
Get them all on the show. It was originally like a 3-way match, and they added Nia the Monday before, which was fucking frustrating.
And then we had the return of the Hardys, which it's still ranks. Actually, I was looking at WWE's. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with like their YouTube numbers, because I just want to see what's popular. The Hardy Boys is literally the return of the Hardy Boys is literally one of the biggest videos they have on YouTube ever. It was trending for days. It's got umpteen million views. Like, it's one of the biggest moments ever. They returned. We had John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. A nice program.
I love the program. I thought the program they started shooting. I think that's when I started liking The Miz.
I think to me it gets too shooty, because John Cena does that thing where it's like he always gets the last word.
Yeah.
And he gets the last word, and it's also the loudest, and it's also the most emphatic, and it's also everything.
The most disrespectful. It's the most disrespectful.
Most disrespectful. I think he called him a pussy or a bitch on TV.
Yeah.
Like, it's something along those lines. We had Seth Rollins versus Triple H. Seth Rollins went through the ringer to try to make it to WrestleMania. He was injured, as we talked about earlier. He was injured by Samoa Joe the night after, I want to say, the Royal Rumble. It was the night after the Royal Rumble.
Well, let's not say it was Joe's fault. It was a freak accident.
Right. Well, Joe will say it's his fault, but in sort of kayfabe. But it was an accident, and he tried his best. He actually made it to somewhere in between. It might have been after Fastlane. He returned, and the feud was going well. I mean, we had Seth Rollins show up on NXT looking for Triple H.
That was a great, and that's what I was going to touch on, is that they had to go big for that storyline, because this was literally a year in the making. It was supposed to be last WrestleMania. It was supposed to be last year. Yes. And they had to pull out the stops, and they had to kind of get personal there and make it seem like it was a blood feud. And I love that, and I also loved Seth's when he was on the crutches. And he revealed that he wasn't injured, and he cut that promo, and I thought that was an amazing promo.
But was that the night he returned?
Yeah, it was the night he returned. But he was like, and Triple H was like, I'll give you the match, but I'm not gonna promise you that, if I hurt you, it's not my fault. You got to sign this thing off that it's not my fault if I hurt you. I believe he said.
The only thing I hated about that night was that Triple H eventually did get the upper hand. Like, I know he's still injured, but at least give him that. Like, have him stand, make it seem like he's a threat. I don't know. Triple H has done some sus shit this year.
Yeah. For all the good he's done, he does really big bad things.
Yeah, big bad. We have Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, which I went in. I did like this feud. Believe it or not, I thought it was a feud that extended from the backlash of the previous year. So it's from September. They played it that Randy Orton's under Bray Wyatt's control. They have callbacks to it. You talk about, there's a callback promo that Randy Orton did that alludes to what he was doing with Bray Wyatt, and then
you're giving it way more thought than what they did at the end of this feud.
It was really good. It was really,
the match was awful.
The match was awful. Don't get me wrong. The match was awful. Bray Wyatt was WWE champion. No one remembers that from this year, but he beat
AJ Styles and John Cena.
And John Cena in the Elimination Chamber to win the belt.
No, he beat him again, too. He beat them again.
He beat them again as well.
In the 3-way, I think.
Yes. So it became that. The match was awful. I don't know, but I thought the feud was good.
And what's crazy? What's crazy how they squandered Bray is that during that 3-way match on SmackDown, I believe, John actually told Bray to pin him, not AJ, to make Bray. So they squandered Bray so badly because literally right after that, it was a superstar shakeup and they put him on a different show. And then they made him lose the belt.
I mean, at least he could say he was WWE champion. I think that's really what... To me, he isn't at the peak of his powers unless he is the ruler of the WWE, but he'll never hold it that long for it to be, reality. And then Randy Orton, a WWE champion in 2017, was kind of wild. I don't know. I don't think we needed that.
People hated it, and they really... There's this thing with Randy Orton when people are like, he's a racist, he's MAGA, blah, blah. Listen, man, okay? Listen. I'm not gonna defend his beliefs. I think
because I'm waiting for you to explain that.
I'm not defending his beliefs. Okay, I'm not doing that at all whatsoever. But it's not Randy jockeying and begging this saying he needs the belt. If anything, it's always Randy saying he needs some time off. Yeah. It's not his fault that he gets put in these feuds. It's not his fault that, you know what I'm saying? I don't think Randy Orton is a better. And the thing, I think my problem is that they're equating his beliefs with his wrestling ability. And if that's the case, y'all need to say the same shit about AJ Styles. Because he's homophobic. Just keep it 100. Like, be all the way with it. Like, Randy Orton is not a bad wrestler. And I think this year proved that, he's tremendous when it comes to storylines, when it comes to actually trying to put people over. Like, he's done a lot of shit that he hasn't had to. He put Aiden English over like 3 times this year. And he didn't have to do that. He could have said, fuck that shit. Put some respect on the man's name. I'm not saying, go all in on the guy, but, put some respect on his name, man. He's had more good moments in the past 3 or 4 years than he has had bad. I'll just put it that way. But, yeah, that match was shitty.
I don't know. Randy Orton seems like on cruise control for me. He's just coasting. He'll take his sick days when he got him. And
Nakamura match was fire. Nakamura match,
it was really good. I think it's because Nakamura tried.
And Randy tried. I feel like him and Nakamura really like each other, though. And, you can tell. I
think they're from the same lazy tree. They're like, bro, you gonna try for this match? Out of here. Aiden English? What are you talking about? I'm just gonna wing this. It's Rusev again. I talked him into getting me 6 seconds with the guy at SummerSlam. Of course I'm not gonna try. They're from the same. They're from the same. I'll work when it means something tree to me.
Again, a longer Randy Orton conversation than we've ever had. But I would looking into 2018. What the fuck? Is someone robbing a car by you?
Oh my god! Why do you have to say that? It's a car alarm. I have no idea. I can't. Let's just ignore the car alarm. Why you? Okay, it's gone.
There we go. I'm just trying to,
Listen, you really trying to set the scene of where I live?
Yeah, you really in New York with the shit.
I feel like Lenny on The Simpsons. But please don't tell anybody how I
live. but looking into 2018, how do you think Mania is going to shake out? I think that the broad strokes are kind of already figured out. I think we're getting Roman and Brock again. I think we're going to get Braun in a marquee match. I think Jinder's probably going to get Cena if Cena's not getting that belt again. But other than that, I don't really know.
You know what? I don't know. I was looking at rumors from WrestleMania last year and how the card has changed so much because originally they were wondering, or at least according to Meltzer, they were like, will Undertaker face John Cena for the WWE Championship, or will Undertaker face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship? And then none of that it happened. But it didn't happen for the championship. They were trying to figure out what do they need, who needs what. I think it's all very last minute things. But I do think we're getting Roman Brock. I think we are going to... The Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose thing kind of throws a wrench in everything.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going with. I think that's what was about to happen with Seth. I think he's on an island right now.
I'm not sure. See, with this Daniel Bryan feud... I'm what is the end point if we're not going to have Daniel Bryan wrestle? What are we sort of working towards? The aggression and the hostility and the conflict and everything if we don't have him get back in the ring. I think out of all the years, this is the most one where it could be logical just because Daniel Bryan's contract is going to run out. He's gone through doctors and he's gone on this, this press tour talking about how he feels good to wrestle, but WWE won't clear him, but so many people have cleared him. I think this 2018 will be the year. It's like, does Daniel Bryan get back into a WWE ring?
I think, there's no bigger place for that to happen than WrestleMania. Actually, who'll be good for Seth? I think you turn Finn and you have Seth and Finn go at it because they've never wrapped that feud up. I think that's a great feud to have, a great match at least.
I feel like they definitely need to turn somebody on the Raw. They need another big heel.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But yeah, that's our look into WrestleMania. Actually, speaking of Finn Balor, a guy who's kind of lost his way in 2017, huh?
Yeah, he returned right before WrestleMania. He was like, "Hey, I'm cleared to go for WrestleMania."
Yeah, he didn't return. He returned the night after, but he was ready way before that.
We got nothing for you, buddy. Like, I don't know if they had him subbed for the Triple H match in case Rollins didn't go.
His first feud was Elias? Was it Elias?
I don't even remember.
His first feud had to be Elias, right?
He didn't have any sort of real strong footing since he's returned. He had, let me take a look actually. He returned on a few house shows.
He was doing a bunch of tag matches. He was beating Jinder and Kurt Hawkins a lot.
He was the one that Jinder, before Jinder became Jinder. He was the last one.
He almost gave him a concussion. Yeah, he almost got a concussion from the guy.
Oh my God.
Actually, you know what? The Bray Wyatt feud took up a lot of his year. From June all the way up to right about because it weaved in and out because the Bray thing was teased.
TLC, it's supposed to end at TLC, or at least it's supposed to continue at TLC.
Yeah, and
didn't.
As of now, I think the last biggest thing he's done, other than beat up the Miztourage every week, is have a really great match with AJ Styles. I don't know. Again, I don't know where they're going with Finn Balor. I will always also have to say, give it 6 more months. It's all gonna fit into place. Look, Dean Ambrose is gone now. So who do you think gets called? You know what I'm saying? Who do you think gets called up to that position next? You know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen for somebody, and I think it's all about timing because there's so many people on this roster. So it's and it sucks to say, but Dean is gone. Seth needs a dance. He needs a dance partner. Who better than to have Finn Balor be his tag team partner or something like that, and then he turn on him or whatever.
100%.
But I think we give him a couple months. I don't think Finn's a lost cause yet, not at all. Give him one more turn. Speaking of another return, the Shield return, and I think we talked about that. Yeah, it's been a snake bitten reunion between them.
It's barely. It's nice to see them. It's like, I don't know, a group, when a group gets back together, maybe like Destiny's Child, I don't know, and Roman is Beyonce, I have no idea. But it's like getting those. He's like, oh, now the sum of all parts. But it just hasn't worked out, and it's unfortunate because I'm sure they wanted to make a ton of money, and maybe they did. Maybe it was a great cash grab in 2017, and they sold a ton of Shield merch.
They made shirts.
They went on the European tour. Everybody was a member of the Shield for a day. They let all the old people in. Triple H was a member of the Shield. He threw on a vest. Kurt Angle was a member of the Shield. He threw on a vest. They were giving everybody vests. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out.
It didn't feel special either to me. It didn't really feel that special to me.
No, because it kind of the Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins reuniting thing felt special.
Yeah,
because it was teased over a couple of weeks, and then Roman was like, "Hey guys, I'm here too." It didn't come with all three realizing that maybe we need to work together for this common goal. I mean, it ended up being that, but I think it could have been done way better.
Yeah, and let's rapid fire through a couple more of these before I get to what I think is the biggest story of the year. I think you agree too. Asuka finally beats Goldberg's streak and has the biggest streak in wrestling that is still ongoing. We've done a deep dive with her before, but I think this is actually a really cool story. And I think one of the best moments of the year so far, just to see someone who I don't think we ever imagined that she would become the character that she is now. I don't think I expected it when she first debuted, and she's one of my favorite wrestlers in the whole company. And I think that's, she has it, and she gets it. And I think she has an aura and a charisma about her that, like, other people like Nakamura and Tozawa haven't really gotten. Like, she connects in a way. I'm not saying that Shinsuke doesn't connect, but she connects in a way that he doesn't with the crowds. And I think that she comes off really cool some weeks, and other times she doesn't. But I think she more often than not, she hits more than Nakamura does. I just really love Asuka.
I love Asuka. I love Asuka as much as I love Rusev Day.
We also had the Mauro Ranallo incident. If you guys remember, Mauro Ranallo was actually starting the year on SmackDown, and he ended the year on NXT, which to most people would seem like a demotion, but to Mauro it's probably the best thing that could have. Yeah, it probably could have happened. The best thing that probably could have happened to him. We're not still really sure what happened. A lot of people thought that it was because of bullying. JBL, and I think that, and let me just say this, like, that was all bullshit. Like, dogpiling JBL for something that happened years ago that no one has said has happened yet since I think that was utter bullshit. And I think everyone who was harping that, because when it came out that it wasn't JBL, everyone was silent. No one said anything. It was like, oh shit. But it's like, it's fucked up. You put a target on JBL's back and made his last couple weeks at WWE really, really rough because you thought he was bullying someone that he wasn't.
I think JBL will be fine.
But I mean, not saying that he's like not poor JBL, but it's like you like, come on, you've been accused of something you haven't done before. And it's like, come on, it's ridiculous, especially something that is big as bullying. Like, JBL don't gotta bully this guy. And it caused a lot of BS about bullying culture within the WWE, and it eventually comes. I mean, Mauro took the bag anyway. He still took the bag.
100%. He's like, I'm taking the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather bag, and I'm also taking the NXT bag. And I think Triple H really wanted him in the WWE. I think Michael Cole and Triple H, who are big proponents of Mauro, really wanted him there, and they wanted to find a situation that worked best for him. But they also wanted him to be healthy and make sure he can return on his own merit and feel like it was the right situation. So I think everything sort of worked out well for the best. I think Tom Phillips is a great fit for SmackDown, even though I think he comes from the school where he just pretty much like butted off of Michael Cole.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great fit on SmackDown. It's kind of a young, fresh, announced team on SmackDown, which I think is very, very nice. And you have sort of a little more grizzled, little more known veterans featuring Corey Graves on Raw, which I think is good too. So I think it works out best for all parties. Yeah.
I don't miss Mauro on main shows at all. Trust me. I don't think he's a great commentator anyway. We also had this was a really great year for tournaments.
Yeah.
We had the WWE UK tournament, which spawned some of the best shows that the WWE has produced this year, and we had the Mae Young Classic, which, while it wasn't as great as the Cruiserweight or the UK tournament, I thought it was really promising, and it really showcased some new stars that we'll be seeing in 2018.
I think it did good. I think what Mae Young didn't bring in sort of the star power it brought in terms of just, okay, we have a crop of new women ready to go. And with the UK tournament, I feel like it's just something different. It's a nice alternative. It introduces the world to like worldly wrestling. It makes wrestling feel a little bit more of a sport than anything. And we've got great matches from it. I mean, just on NXT tonight, we had the rematch between Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
Don't tell me what happened. Don't tell me what happened.
I didn't watch it, so I was doing this. But it's a great match. It's something good. It's something good to add for a network. It makes wrestling feel more of a sport than entertainment. Although it is definitely entertainment, it feels like more of a sport now, which is, I think, what everybody is just sort of clamoring for. I think like things like the World Cup have sort of changed the perspective of the WWE and the power and the attention given to the World Cup is, hey, we can do these tournaments. Do you think we get another tournament in 2018?
I think UK gets a show. I don't think Mae Young goes back. We have
the mixed tag tournament.
Yeah, we have that. I think we get a Dusty Rhodes
Tag Team Classic. I would love to see that again.
Yeah.
These tag teams around them. You don't even have to be a tag team. Just be two guys who show up. Just show up. Tag teams will be nice, but, just show up. This year we also had some notable releases and notable signings.
Yes, let's run through some of the. Let's go to releases first. I'll do releases. You do the signings.
Sure.
Notable releases: Jimmy Jacobs over a selfie, Austin Aries over a banana, Emma over a gimmick, Jack Swagger because we don't really remember where he's from, Josh Breedle from Tough Enough, I didn't even remember he was signed, Simon Gotch for being annoying, Tajiri for showing up. For showing up to the Cruiserweight Classic.
He was just old. He was just like, all right, you don't have time for this.
Yeah, Jim Johnson, which I think hurt a lot of people. I don't think people are talking about Jim Johnson's release enough, but Jim Johnson.
Amicable. I don't know. I haven't actually heard from Jim Johnson ever.
I heard it wasn't, and they don't announce like behind the camera talents as being released on the site, but I heard it wasn't amicable. I heard they just kind of let his contract end, and they let him because they wanted to replace him with CFO. And I hope that WWE at least owns some of the stuff that he made. But I
would imagine they do.
But if you think about it, though, a lot of the people on the roster right now don't have his theme music anymore. They all have CFO stuff.
That's true, but I mean, when you go back to old DVDs and old retrospectives and all the things, they definitely use Jim Johnson music. I like to think that WWE owns it, or at least owns it for a period of time. But I would think, considering you featured The Undertaker for the last 30 years, you featured Macho Man for the last 30 years, even Hulk Hogan, I would think you own that.
I hope so. It's for the network's sake. I hope so, or else they're going to be paying out a lot. James Ellsworth for being completely useless to Carmella was also released this year.
Oh my god!
And let's put an asterisk by it, Neville, because I think that's coming any day now.
Did I have Neville? Shit.
No, you didn't. But I mean, rightfully so. He's still signed. He's still in the contract. But we'll put an asterisk by him because that could come any day now.
We had signings. We had Adam Cole and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly.
Yes.
As the Undisputed Era. I'm literally putting them in now. I completely forgot those two. Kyle O'Reilly as new signings. So we had the Undisputed Era as new signings. We also had one I don't have on this list now. We had Drew McIntyre return. Drew McIntyre got re-signed to the WWE, and he's made his impact already, becoming NXT champion. In the process, we had Lio Rush, someone who's got a lot of flack over the last couple weeks. I think it's overall dying down, and hopefully moving in 2018, he has a much more prosperous year.
I think Regal is going to keep him close to the chest for the time being.
I hope so. We've had Mike and Maria Kanellis. And things haven't been going. They had a great story about Mike and his drug addiction and overcoming that, which I think could have been something. But they really haven't used him on SmackDown since Maria was announced as pregnant.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks, especially if I'm a worker and want to work.
Well, he's been at the Performance Center, and I think he's been training. So I would, and I think he worked a dark match a week ago or something like that. Against Rude, and he lost that match. But I think he's on the way to coming back. The only thing with him is that he's on SmackDown. It's just so top heavy, and then NXT's top heavy now too. So he doesn't really fit anywhere. But I really hope he finds his place next year. I mean, have him go against Mojo. I think that'd be a cool feud.
I think it would be great. We had Zelina Vega, formerly Thea Trinidad, signed to the main roster. Now she's part of the winning team with Andrade Cien Almas. Candice LeRae, where did I have her?
She didn't.
She didn't sign. No, it was the other girls from the Mae Young Classic. We had Kairi Sane. I think Abby Lace.
She was already signed. Abby was already signed.
Yeah, she was signed this year though.
I think she had a match last year on NXT. She's just been off TV for a really long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, she signed it. Well, it was just top of this year, but a number of the women in the Mae Young Classic was signed to the WWE.
Missy Martinez. Yeah, a lot of them were. It was. I think more than half of them were. I think the only ones that weren't was like Toni Storm and what's her name, Piper. Piper wasn't, which was ridiculous. It was shocking she didn't get signed.
crazy. Shayna Baszler, of course, we talked about her. And Kanati Brink as the first female referee at the WWE. So, not such a, besides Adam Cole and probably like Drew McIntyre, they didn't raid the indies as they typically do, because I think they've got more than they can handle unless the Bucks end up showing up. 2018, it's hinted we have potentially Kenny Omega.
2018, no, 20. He's done. He's done in 2019. I don't think he's coming. He's got a year left.
2019.
Yeah, he signed a 2-year deal.
Oh my God! All right.
Yeah.
Ricochet, possibly. I've heard conversations about Ricochet.
I would lean really heavily to that happening. I think you're about to say her name, but Tessa Blanchard. I'd lean really heavily to that happening too. EC3. I would lean very, very heavily into him coming back as well.
So 2018, we're gonna have some stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, who would you like to see signed that isn't signed already? I think they've got everybody.
Shoot, I think to me, I would probably want to see. Oh my God, I don't think I want to see Zack Sabre Jr. I thought I did.
He's so tiny.
No, but I like him. But I don't know if he's the fit for the WWE. I think I like him much more in any scene. I love Zack Sabre Jr., but I think he's a much more, fit on that sort of scene. I could see... Is Timothy Thatcher still wrestling?
Yes.
I could see him. I could see... Who else you got? You know the indie scene in outside
I think the biggest
is this the year Jay Lethal finally?
No, they don't want him. I mean, honestly, to me, and just to keep it 100, the biggest get that they signed was Tommy End. I think he was the biggest get to me, and he's doing excellently on NXT right now. I was the most excited about him when they signed him last year. I think that Matt Riddle is someone I would love to see go there. I would like to see Keith Lee. They've already got Donovan Dijak. He's imminent to debut really soon. From Ring of Honor, Marty Scurll. I really like Marty Scurll. I think I
like the cut of his jib.
Yeah, I think he'd be great in the UK division. Not a lot of people from like Ring of Honor. Their roster is really kind of like rebuilding itself. Because a lot of those guys are gone. I mean, other than like the Bucks and stuff, and I don't necessarily think they would fit in WWE whatsoever. But I mean, I think they need to sit tight with what they have right now. They've got a lot right now. I think it's almost too much. Such a packed roster. I see a couple of those people falling off, but falling by the wayside too. I don't see all of them staying.
I mean, since we're talking about Ring of Honor, let's get a few stuff that happened outside of WWE. We have the Bullet Club. Sort of expanded. I feel like they expanded its brand. Just like
they're everywhere.
Club was everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're the biggest thing in indie wrestling. I mean, I would say they're the indie NWO, and we've never had that. We've never had an impact. Like, say what you will about them. I'm not a huge fan of them anymore, but they know how to use social media, and they are the blueprint as to how to make money off of your Twitter if you're in the wrestling business. They are the blueprint for that.
They will, trust me, in like 20 years, they're going to be the Kevin Nash and Scott Hall who's out here doing shoot interviews with their legs folded and their gruff voices like, oh man, we sold at least 1 million t-shirts that year. Like, just making them crazy wrestling or hyperbolic, hyperboles and shit like that. So they're going to do that. But, Cody Rhodes just seemed to be a good fit with them as sort of de facto non-Kenny leader.
I mean, Kenny's more worried about New Japan, so they had to have that guy that was going to be here all the time.
Right. And speaking of Kenny Omega and, Okada, one of the hottest feuds of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think this is like really the most talked about feud, one of the most talked about stories, talked about debates, everything. Is did you see this match? Did you think it was the greatest match ever? And, if you didn't, you're crazy. Or if you didn't, then maybe you're one of the good ones. Or like, it was just such a great conversation piece that I think New Japan finally had, and, had something that people talked about after the night that it ended. I don't think I've ever...
How did you feel after... So 2016, one of Kenny Omega's shining moments, winning the G1 tournament. and he goes to Wrestle Kingdom. And do you feel like it should have been his time then, or even it should have been his time anytime this year?
I'll talk about this more next week, but
okay. Gotcha.
I do have issues with his booking. I think his booking is some of the most bewildering stuff I've ever seen for a major guy that they want to push. You have this guy win your biggest tournament, then you have him lose to the champion, then you have him disappear after some weird contract negotiation stuff where no one really knows if he's coming back, and people are saying he's going to show up at the Royal Rumble. I don't know who that got over. That was just completely weird. You have him disappear for 2-3 months, then he shows up again, loses to the guy again, but he's not a focal point anymore. Then and the second match is great, and then you have him going to the G1. He finally beats Okada in the G1. Then he loses the G1 tournament, and then it's like, well, he wins the U.S. Championship in Long Beach, and he doesn't like. It's just weird. I don't know what they do for Kenny. I don't know what their booking for him is all off to me. I don't think they book him like a top guy, but they don't book him like he's like. Well, they book him like a top guy. I won't say they won't, but they don't book him like he's like Okada.
Right. There's clearly like, hey, I don't know. Maybe it's
They book him like Nakamura. They book him like Nakamura was booked when he was there. He was good enough, but he wasn't good enough to beat Okada when it mattered. And I think that's a major reason why Okada or Nakamura probably left, because he was like, I'm never gonna beat this guy. And it's like Kenny kills himself every single match. He's had great matches against guys that you would have never thought he would have had great matches with, like Juice. And he's managed to pull 4 stars out of these guys and make it really believable. I do think that Kenny should have had the belt. I do think he'll get the belt this year, because I think he's going to lose to Chris Jericho in Wrestle Kingdom. But I think he'll lose the belt, and I think he'll get the belt back from Okada, and I think he'll lose it at Wrestle Kingdom, and I think he'll leave. So yeah.
Right. Let's run through the last few, because I gotta get out of here.
For sure.
Jeff Jarrett returned to TNA umpteen time, was a consultant. Then it was announced the merge of Global Force and Impact Wrestling, and then shortly after, he was banished from TNA. It feels like a rerun. It honestly feels like a rerun. It feels like we've had this happen before in the same fashion, with the same rumors, besides the fact that he literally, merged his company into somebody else, got money, and then decided, hey, he didn't decide to slither out, but it just, the result is kind of the same.
Yeah. He's the biggest hustler in wrestling. He's the biggest hustler.
He kind of left TNA. It's like, or at least Impact Wrestling. I know they aren't calling themselves TNA. They leave Impact Wrestling sort of more confused than it was before, when it was all the rumors that it was going to, it was going out of business.
Yeah, I still don't know how Impact is still in business. I think there's going to be some, and I mean, as a company as a whole, Anthem has completely revamped everything about Impact Wrestling. They have basically shut down The Law, which is one of my favorite podcasts. Shout out to John Pollock and Wei Ting. It's just, Impact has ruined so many lives this year.
So many lives. So many lives.
I have no clue how it's still alive, but 2018, I mean, it's still kicking. I think they're going to lose a lot of people in 2018 though, but they're still kicking. The next story, I think we're down to like the 2 biggest stories of the year to on the show here. I think number 2 would obviously be the rise of Braun Strowman. I never foresaw this. I never foresaw this. I never saw this happening.
For some reason, he just has. When they say that guy needs it, he has it.
Yeah.
For some reason, it is working.
Yeah.
And they've given him all of the tools to make it work. Similar to, the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know Braun Strowman and Stone Cold are very polarizing characters, but they're investing in him. They're giving him the toys. They're showing him up in trucks. He's dying in monster trucks. He's pushing over people. He's killing people. He's going through rings. He's having steel cage matches. He's throwing chairs. He's doing everything. They've given him everything to work. And, he hasn't become champion, yet. I don't know if he needed it this year, but Braun Strowman is working. The rise of Braun Strowman it's been crazy over the last year.
Yeah, super crazy. He beat Roman Reigns all summer. Had a okay match with Brock Lesnar. It didn't really slow him down, but I mean, he was the star of the Survivor Series match, and I'd argue on a lot of nights he is the star of Raw. I think he's someone who has all the intangibles. Other than his size, he can talk, and he just has a superstar look to him. I'm a huge fan of Braun Strowman, and it's something that I never thought I would say last year. But this is proof that WWE can make a guy when they want to make a guy. But he also has to have it, like you said, in order for him to make it. So if anyone wants to make it in the company, they got to look at him.
And speaking of someone who questionably may or may not have it, but they've decided he is it, and it is what you should be looking at, and it is what we're moving forward with. The biggest story of the year. And I'll let you talk about it because
I think we all were taken aback by this. I think it was confusing. Twitter melted down. I think they might have crashed Twitter when this happened, but it was the most talked about moment of the year. It was the most debated. It was the most argued. It was the most fucking defied. People hated this shit. And I mean, for no reason other than that, this is our biggest moment of the year in wrestling. Jinder Mahal becomes the WWE champion.
It's crazy because he was originally brought back the previous year just to fill a roster spot. They were doing 3-hour Raws. They were splitting the brands. They needed more bodies on, the thing. He showed up. He got in tremendous shape. I'll give him that. He got in tremendous shape. He looks, like $1 million now. He's gotten into, he's worked hard. He was a runner-up in the Andre Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Ended up getting eliminated by Mojo and Gronk. And then for some reason, they just decided, hey, we're going to abruptly turn this corner and just give him the strap. And it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you'll never see me complain or argue about what he did to get there. You'll never see me or hear me complain about him not deserving it. You'll never hear me say that. I've always maintained that the reason I was against it is because the guy he just couldn't work. And I think we all knew that. I think we all knew that there was going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors. That's why they got the Singh brothers. That's why they put him in a bunch of gimmick matches. That's why they hid him behind a bunch of bullshit. But I think, as far as the experiment went, he was put over a lot of guys. They put him over Randy Orton 3 times. Shinsuke Nakamura, that was his first loss. Shinsuke Nakamura was Jinder Mahal. Like, they put him over a lot of guys to make him, and it did not make him. And I think everyone argues this point. Everyone says this. There was a lot of ironic love for Jinder because people thought it was in direct competition to people who were racist. And if you didn't like him, you were racist and you were a hater. That's not what this is about. I think a lot of it was what it was about, but to me, and I think a lot of other people, that's not what it was about. I think it was about the fact that on a roster that was already shoestring, you put a guy in that place who couldn't work against an AJ Styles, who couldn't work against even a Kevin Owens at this point, and you put him over a lot of guys to try and make him a star. And then in November, you said, fuck it. Just think about the time period of the last 6 weeks for Jinder Mahal. He had a match against Brock Lesnar. They abruptly switched the title off of him to AJ Styles, beat him in Europe of all places. After that, just a couple days ago, they beat him again. Weeks before that, Triple H beat him in India, clean.
That was wild.
Clean. They completely like. And I always say this about Jinder, and I always say it as a joke. Jinder goes on Twitter and says, after he lost the belt in Europe, he says, I was an experiment. I'm going to be around for a really long time. I didn't have a wellness violation. I don't have heat backstage. But everything that has happened to him since he tweeted that has pointed to the fact that this experiment is over. I can't stress this enough. That's over.
Do you think there's an opportunity, though, that he could become WWE champion again?
No. Absolutely not. Look at where he was on SmackDown on Tuesday. He didn't get pinned.
I'm gonna disagree, and I'm not saying that they'll do it immediately. I'm not saying that we're going to get it. I mean, we may get it immediately. Who the hell knows? But I'm not going to say they're going to do it immediately. But I think they have now this different type of star on the roster, and they're at least going to want to entertain that because now you've built a sort of bigger heel. I think.
Is he a bigger heel?
He's a bigger heel than he was. When
you put him beside Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
He was an ineffective heel. He was an ineffective heel before. He's much bigger than he was before.
But when you put him next to those two guys that I just mentioned, like last night on SmackDown, he was a nobody out there. He didn't, like I said, he didn't take the pen, but he was a body.
That's true. I'll give you that.
He was a body. I'll say this: the Sings give him presence, but when you put him, if you put him next to a Triple H, you put him next to an AJ Styles, you put him next to a Braun Strowman, you put him next to a Kevin Owens, you put him next to a fucking Miz. He is not a big heel. He looks mid-card. His story is mid-card. His character is mid-card. He screams mid-card. Give him the U.S. title. I'm okay with that. That's where he goes in 2018. But as far as a headline, he was the biggest story of the year.
100%. It was shocking. He broke the internet. He broke everything. Well, I don't know about the internet, but he broke wrestling internet.
He did.
Just like, what happened?
He did. He did that by having no good matches. He did that by never main eventing a pay-per-view that he was champion on.
Wow.
He never the only time he did that was on Sunday. And that was because he was next to who? A bigger star.
He wasn't even champion, but he wasn't champion.
Oh, exactly. There you go. Exactly. He there you go. It speaks volumes as to how they thought about him 6 months ago to how they think about him right now. They want to say that it was India, it was those India numbers, and I know you love to look at the YouTube. Yes, they popped the number in India on YouTube, but they did not pop an attendance number in India proper. And I think that's where they said, you know what, we got to cut our losses here. He's beating everybody. We can't have him beat AJ. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Dang. Jinder Mahal, the biggest story in 2017. I feel like we can do better in 2018. Just gonna, no lie, I feel like we can do better. We already have Women's Royal Rumble lined up. We have Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Yes, 12.
We have, the potential. There's Brock Lesnar's contract, which is coming up, which is up in the air. We have Daniel Bryan's future, which is up in the air.
Neville's future.
Yeah. Neville's future, which is up in the air. We have, will Undertaker return or not? Will Asuka's streak finally break? Will Matt Hardy be something to, be something in the WWE as it was in TNA? Will a lot of things happen? I mean, 2018.
It's going to be wilder than this year. I'll go on a limb and say that. Shit.
I hope so. I mean, unless something super controversial happens. But yeah, it's gonna be wilder than this year. And
I have to thank you guys for and Meelz yourself for being with us on this ride. We have one more year in show to go, and that is our best matches of the year. We'll be going in a deep dive of some of our best matches. Meelz will pick one, I'll pick one, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, next week you have the last part of that, and of course, as always, with every week on the A Show, we'll run down the shows of the week and some of the most pertinent news. I don't know if there's going to be any big news, but I always say that, and then Tuesday hits and we have like Kurt Angle wrestling and Finn Balor wrestling AJ Styles. So we'll see what happens next week.
We'll see what happens. Until then, we'll see you.
See you guys. See you guys later. Hit us up on Twitter, of course, at LGJohnny5 and at MeelzTV, MEELZ TV. Tell us your thoughts on what was the biggest story of 2017 and give us a preview into your favorite matches of 2017 as well. And next week, we'll be back with that list. Until next time, this is the A Show signing off. See you later.
Peace.